deckled papers, you usually don't cut your paper for an editioned lino, you tear it. And it's a bit overkill for what we're doing, but I thought I'd do it the way I would normally do it if I was doing an artwork. So what I want is paper. First thing you do when you're printing is you get all your paper ready. And that can take a while sometimes. Specifically, some papers have a right side and a wrong side. So you need to go through and find out what the right side is and have them all set up so that when you've got inky fingers and you're busy, you have them all ready to go and you know what the right side is. So you don't print on the wrong side, basically. So this is what I do when I'm printing. I make the shape and size of the paper that I want to print on and I tear them up. And then this is my backing paper and I do a rough sketch of where my paper's going to go. And generally, if this is an artwork, you'd have slightly more on the bottom than the top, so I'll just pretend it is. So this is like registering your print on the paper. Really important. Registration is really important, obviously, if doing multiple colours, but I do it even when I just use one colour. And then you trace your block. So I'm ready to go there. So that's what I'm all set up with that. Really nifty idea. All your little hairy bits, if they get ink on them, they will print. So you burn them off. You don't set off the
smoke.
Yeah, and see, you know, I'm not going to set my hair on fire or my Band-Aid on fire. I said I wasn't going to, you know, never cut myself, I said. What a liar. Okay. You can see what that does. I mean, you probably could trim them off with, but the really thin, hairy ones that escape you, yeah. And ink. So I need to keep that. The ink dries in the tub if you don't unpack it properly or repack it properly. That's why it's got the plastic on it. Non-eating knife. Press back down. Press out the bubble there. I'll do that later. The wonderful thing about this ink being water wash up is that you can actually clean your hands while you're working. So this is my favourite brayer. It's probably too big for what I'm printing. I'll use it anyway. So you have 3 spots. You have your ink, that's quite enough room. You have where you roll your block up, and then you have your clean area. So what you're looking for is nice, tiny little sparkles. When you first roll it out, see they're big? people doing it online and stuff, and they just roll it out on the table or whatever, and they never get any ink anywhere. And I'm like, am I the messiest person on the planet? Because I always get ink. So I always have a big piece of paper behind my block. That's just what I do. Right, so if by chance I accidentally get some ink there, which you sometimes do because you get it on the back of your fingers, and what you do right, so then I know where my block needs to be put. I've got that there, and I know where my paper needs to be put. And I've got my barons, so I've brought along a lot of these to use, but I didn't buy you one each because they're not as cheap as you'd like them to be. They're about $8 each. But this is where the spoon comes in. Depending on your design, you can use the back of a spoon or a wooden spoon. I don't like it, but some people get great results out of it. So I only ever use a...
You only ever use the bamboo one?
A baron.
I've got one of the pimply plastic.
I've never used one of those, so I don't know what they're like. I've got this one, but I don't love it. It leaves, I must press really hard, and it sometimes leaves red plastic on the back of my paper.
Yeah.
I don't think it should do that.
Yes, so you don't ever use a clean brayer on that?
No.
On that stage?
So I would say
Nicely in
that's
the
a
landscape.
little bit, I've moved the paper a little bit with that one, but it'll do for now. I may need to change a little bit in there, and I may need to thin some parts of it, but ultimately I like the background. Oh, I forgot to do the G. I was going to do that. We'll do it anyway. So that's the first time you see it, is when you put the ink on. You can start to see what it's going to be like. The first inking up is always problematic. So for whatever reason, there's things on the lino that resist ink, and then you apply it too heavily and it goes in the gaps too much or whatever. So that's why you do proofs on rough paper. And I just always wash my hands. It's going to look funny because the G's not cut out, but you know.
Gladdish.
With the smaller things, it's much easier to accidentally move the paper while you're printing, and so you'll have a problem with that. With bigger things, the suction of the ink holds the paper down.
What's that little bamboo object called again?
Baron, B-A-R-O-N. I've got a bag of them here, so there's plenty to play with today. And yeah, if you use your spoons as well, you might get some good results. Depends on your design, I think, and I think just the way I do designs, the spoons don't work. So yeah, you can see I've got a bit of a, it's not inked up well enough. That often happens on the very first one. I've probably not carved deep enough or wide enough in that area. But yeah, so that's the difference. So it's exactly the same design, drawn onto two bits. One I carved up behind, one I carved.
So one's relief and one's intaglio. Well,
No, they're both relief, but
the lettering. I mean.
yeah. So you just, decide which one's going to be black and which bits are going to be white. But the design, when you put your design on your lino, it should look the same as the design did before you transferred it. You don't need to do anything fancy.